Lisa Goddard reporting there, and a passenger on board the train that crashed at Cleveland yesterday has described the terrifying ordeal. Carissa Wilcox was thrown from her seat with her 2 young children.
A rail recovery. Overnight, cranes were brought in to remove carriages at Cleveland after the train overshot the track and smashed 10 metres into the station.
I was terrified.
Carissa Wilcox was in the front carriage with her 2 young children when the train made its final frightening stop.
Next thing, it was just a big bang and there was smoke coming out the front of the train.
A terrifying end to the trip.
I was shaking like a leaf. I didn't know what was going on.
Her 11-month-old son's pram was knocked over with him strapped inside. Carissa and her 2-year-old daughter Malia were flung onto the floor.
I was like nearly in tears so many times.
They were taken to hospital with bruising and minor injuries.
She's got some bruising up around the rib section and down along the leg.
Carissa says the train didn't seem to slow down.
I did not feel the brakes applied at all.
The driver claims he did apply the brakes, but they failed. So did the emergency brakes.
It was a terrifying experience for him. He did everything he possibly could to stop that train.
The investigation has been fast-tracked.
I've had assurances from the Australian Transport Safety Bureau they can complete their investigation within 1 month.
The train's black box and CCTV vision of the crash have been retrieved to help with the investigation. Queensland Rail says it's still too early to know when the station will be back in use. Buses will run between Wellington Point and Cleveland this weekend. Carly Waters, 7 News.
The rail network is about to be thrown into chaos, with up to a third of QR's fleet set to go offline. Drivers are refusing to set foot on hundreds of trains in the wake of yesterday's crash at Cleveland.
If only it had been a model train instead of the runaway beast that swung into Cleveland station like a giant wrecking ball. Massive cranes doing the heavy lifting, revealing the full extent of the impact and the terror felt by the helpless passengers on board.
Everyone was being like thrown and falling off their seats and hitting like the front seats in front of. Next thing, we just heard this big bang and I saw all this smoke coming out of the front of the train, which was where I was, and I was freaking out thinking the kids have all fallen because the pram ended up on its side with my youngest.
Carissa says the train driver walked back into the first carriage and told the passengers not to try to leave the crippled train.
Because the overhead wires were hanging all over the doors and we didn't know when we'd be able to get out of the train, and all he said was don't touch anything metal.
Eventually, Carissa and her children were treated by paramedics at the scene. 11-month-old Jayden lucky to escape with a bruise above his eye. For little Malia, a cut lip and a nightmare.
Last night she said, "Mummy, the train crashed and I hurt myself." And she just wants heaps of cuddles.
The Transport Minister says a proposed 3-month investigation into the cause is too long. He's ordered a 1-month interim report, but union officials say they already know what happened.
The driver used both the initial brake and the safety brake, and they both failed.
No, I didn't feel it slow at all.
The trip of a lifetime they'll never forget.
I was just in utter disbelief because you don't hear of things like this happening ever.